And now it's time for our insight of the week. Crimson, what do you bring into us?
All right, Laurie, so I got to be honest. When I search for these quotes, I really try to be thoughtful. Unsettled, though, is a really hard one to find a quote because everything comes back to uncertainty and like these tangential ideas. So I ended up landing on one from Tolkien. Not all those who wander are lost. And I think I picked this because, well, at first glance, it's not obvious that it's about being unsettled. Basically, the way I see being unsettled is uncertainty and a discomfort of lack of progress. And that sometimes feel like you're lost. You're wandering out in the wilderness and you're lost and you're looking for an explanation. You're trying to find some attainable goal, right? But the reality is that you're not going to always. So it's about you can be unsettled with something and also content. You can be unsettled with something and also not confused. Sometimes things are just going to bring you that feeling, and sometimes you sit in that discomfort. And I felt like this captured it and reminded us. It goes back to compassion. It doesn't mean you're lost. It just means you are coping with some feelings that are challenging.
Well, and we chose Unsettled this week because it was a theme, some business stuff that you and I are going through, and it was also a theme across social media with people just feeling very like, where do I go from here? Like, what's next? And I do think there's a level of uncertainty, incompleteness, exploration that go along with these things. And so to bring in the token quote, I like that because we can be uncertain and not all is lost.
Right.
We can be unsettled and not all is lost, right? It's just a feeling like any other feeling. It's transient, but I do think it's a feeling that tells us a lot. You know, it kind of tells us when things aren't lining up in such a way that we're feeling super psychologically safe. That's how I feel of uncertainty. It's not the great judger of that. It doesn't mean that you're psychologically not in a great space. It just means that like it triggers something inside of you.
Well, just I often notice this, and I hate to make light of it, but millennials have to make light of our trauma informed responses because we have the words for it. And I see a lot of people, especially people with traumatic histories, where a lot of our feelings of being unsettled stem from like missing pieces of the puzzle. They did this thing, but something is missing. Like I'm missing a piece of that story, right? A perfect example was when we bought our house. I was very uncomfortable with the fact that we got such a good deal on our house. We live in Fort Thomas. You don't get good deals. Low balls are not accepted. This house sold for literally over $100,000 than what we bought it for, and it fell through. And I had the opportunity to put an offer in and was lucky. I had the right realtor and I knew what I could afford and I lowballed it and they accepted it. And I spent years feeling just unsettled because from a human behavior standpoint, right? This is what we do, Laurie. We try to understand what drives humans, right? Why did she give me such a good deal on this house? And I felt so unsettled for years, only to find out that the people that offered to buy this house before were the ones manipulating, and they were trying to get out of the deal because there was infidelity found after they made an offer for an obscenely large amount for a house. So I spent years feeling unsettled and looking for that piece. There was a piece missing. I knew it couldn't be that I'm just lucky that everything just fell through the way that they said, but it wasn't what they said. I don't know. So I'm settled on that one now.
Sometimes additional information can help us get more settled, for sure. I think unsettled is a feeling and it's not always indicative of something bad. Like you said, sometimes it's indicative of not having the full story or just something curious or even lucky that happened, right? So I love this quote. I know that this is used a lot. And I think in terms of our emotional landscape, in a world that really asks you to move through your emotional states quickly and almost without regard, I think it's okay for you to sit with your feelings a little bit here and there. And unsettled is one to sit with because you can find some interesting things. You can also find some humor in it as well. Things that are unsettling are often, can speak to unspoken universal truths, which is exactly what comedy is.
Yeah, exactly.